Yes, we are just a few days away from Apple's March event, where all of the speculation from the past few months will finally be revealed, and those next 6 days until the event will feel excruciatingly long, and I'll be laying awake at night thinking about what hints and clues Apple just dropped in their event invite that could change everything we know about the Mac. Is it just me? No one else is racking their brains around this? No? Okay, well, you clicked on the video, so you might as well stay to hear my well put together thoughts or my theory on this event. Or just the ramblings of a madman. A mad. I think this looks pretty good. All right, so what can we really glean from this invite that Apple has sent out with the tagline peak performance and a colorful Apple logo? Well, first off, I think it's important to look back at previous Apple event invites and find out if you can really learn anything from these Apple event invites. Well, the last Apple event came with the tagline Unleashed, and I think the correct consensus around that time was that Apple would be showing off more powerful chips for their Pro MacBook Pros, and that was correct, as we saw Apple announce the new M1 Pro and new M1 Max chip, which I think was, fair to say, pretty unleashed in terms of their power. And it's not just titles. Sometimes the artwork can give us hints about the event. In fact, the last Apple Spring event, which took place in April, featured a multicolored Apple logo. And as it turns out, this was the event where we first saw the redesigned colorful M1 iMacs with pretty much the same color scheme from that colorful Apple logo. And sometimes Apple really doesn't give us any hints, and I think the most recent example of that would be Apple's September event, where they used the tagline California Streaming, I guess meaning they streamed the event from locations in California. Cool. And the artwork, yeah, there's a lot of hints there, right? Yeah, no. A lot of people overanalyzed this artwork, and they thought, the color scheme for this artwork would indicate there would be a new bronze iPhone color, or the night sky had some stars in it, so there would be astrophotography on the iPhone 13 Pro. Yeah, none of that turned out to be true. None of that. Absolutely none of that. Totally meaningless. So many wasted man hours analyzing that piece of artwork. And it was nothing. So you can't always glean information from an Apple event invite, but sometimes you can. And why am I so convinced that this time there's something more than just a clever tagline? Well, it's because that this event, really up until the last few weeks, was not supposed to be that exciting. Like, we knew exactly what to expect, with a refreshed iPhone SE with an A15 chip and 5G, and an iPad Air with an A15 chip and 5G, and Tim Cook with a new A15 chip and 5G. But other than that, we might have expected just spec bumps for every other product that Apple was releasing. Even the M1 Mac Mini update was supposed to be a Mac Mini with an M1 Pro and an M1 Max chip. It might have had a new redesign, maybe some new ports, but really, we were kind of just dealing with another spec bump here. Now think about that tagline again. Peak performance. Now, it's not peak as in the peak of a mountain or the peak of power, spelled P-E-A-K. It's spelled P-E-E-K, as in peek, or a hidden glance at something, like peeking at your presence, or a sneak peek of what's to come. Not to downplay the hype if you're excited for some of those products I mentioned before, but all of those slight refreshes to existing products with existing parts and chips we already know about is hardly a peek at anything new. And it calls into question if this event really needed to be an event at all. This event could have just been an email, or I guess in Apple's case, a press release. So it's possible there's something coming at this event that wasn't necessarily accounted for. Well, if I'm reading into the future or reading the tea leaves, and yes, you can take this with as many grains of salt as you need to, or as many speculation warnings as you want, I personally think it means something much bigger and more important than just these products. As for what it could be, I feel like it could be a multitude of products, but I will draw my attention towards what was supposed to be released at this event initially and what may have hit a production snag. the iMac Pro. Yes, a few months ago, I was telling you to expect an iMac Pro at this event until Ross Young, a display analyst, said that the 27-inch mini LED component for this product wouldn't be ready until sometime in the middle of the year, most likely in June or after that. And I assumed that would mean that Apple would wait to announce this iMac around their Worldwide Developer Conference, which coincidentally takes place in June. At WWDC, I also expected them to show off the long-rumored half-size Mac Pro, complete with a powerful custom version of Apple Silicon that would be a Frankenstein stitched together kind of computer with two M1 Max chips. That would be a Frankenstein version of the M1 Max chip with both of them stitched together for an M1 Max Duo chip with a 20-core CPU and 64-core GPU. And beyond that, another model with 4 of these M1 Max chips stitched together for a total of 40 CPU cores and up to 128 GPU cores. Naturally, I also concluded that these more advanced versions of the M1 Max's Apple Silicon, which we really don't have a name for yet, might also make their way down to the iMac Pro. I say that because as a pro desktop computer, the iMac Pro should have more computing power than a laptop, and Apple could even use some of those lesser bin chips that didn't meet the Mac Pro's standards to use on this iMac Pro. So say you had an M1 Max Duo that didn't get to the full 20 CPU cores or the full 64 GPU cores, you could use that bin chip, and let's say it got 14 CPU cores and a 48 GPU core. Well, that would be a prime candidate for a computer like the iMac Pro. That would be a really good chip for that all-in-one computer. Now, before you accuse me of going down an unrelated tangent, don't worry, I'm getting there. Because you see, what if Apple isn't afraid to show off what's next for the Mac at this event, and choosing to focus on just software for WWDC? What if they are ready to give you, dare I say, a peek at the performance capable in these higher-end Pro machines, even though they might not actually ship until the middle of this year, or maybe even at the end of this year? Well, I may be reading into this event invite too much, but I certainly think it's possible. Apple is quickly running out of time to meet their 2-year goal for completing the transition away from Intel to their own custom Apple Silicon, and they said they had a 2-year time frame. And 2022 is supposed to be jam-packed for Apple with new products, so perhaps it would be better to focus on these Macs now, with proper stage time explaining the benefits of these new designs and, more importantly, this new chip architecture. Especially when you consider that Apple is also planning to launch M2 versions of certain Macs this year. And this could be a surefire way to launch these Macs before the M2 Macs and avoid any confusion for conflicting events in the summer or fall. Think about it. If these Macs really aren't coming out until the end of this year and we're just getting a sneak peek at them, wouldn't it make more sense to show them off now rather than have them share future stage time with these entry-level M2 Macs? Think about how confusing the messaging would be around the power of these new chips if there is literally a chip out there with a higher number that you release right next to it. A lot of people would be wondering what Mac is more powerful and what Mac is better. The message would be all over the place, even more all over the place than this poorly put together video. So that is my theory. Apple is ready to give us a sneak peek at their pro-level desktop Macs, even if we may not be able to order them the Friday after the event. But there are other theories, and I'll go over them quickly because I do think they're actually quite good. So there's 2 more theories that I could posit for this event invite that might also make sense. The first one deals with the M2 Macs, because there were also some last-minute rumors before the March 8th event was announced that Apple would be releasing a new M2 MacBook Pro at this event, an M2 MacBook Pro with no design changes. However, this mainly came from a report from DigiTimes, which has a mixed track record to say the least. Well, what if they got part of that report wrong, or slightly wrong? And what if the product that was ready for this event wasn't an M2 MacBook Pro? What if it was an M2 MacBook Air? Granted, while I think this is less likely, the event invite is marked with color. Very similarly, I might add, to Apple's last spring event invite, and peak performance would possibly give us a glimpse at this new M2 chip and what the M2 is capable of in the design department with new hardware. A new design, a new chip, a peek into the future would be the perfect play on this event invite. But I do think it's less likely, given the lack of rumors surrounding a MacBook Air at this event. But Apple has been known to surprise us in the past, especially with Mac releases, where there's actually, usually, less concrete hardware leaks surrounding Macs than something like an iPhone. Finally, perhaps the least likely, but maybe the most interesting theory on this invite, is that this is a reference to an entirely new product. One more thing kind of product. Apple's long-rumored VR headset, which was rumored to be announced sometime this year. And like most new Apple product categories, Apple likes to get ahead of announcing these products way ahead of when they are actually supposed to launch, so they don't spoil the surprise with FCC regulatory filings. We saw this same strategy of announcing products really early for products like the iPhone and also the Apple Watch. And not only does the tagline of peak performance play into the idea that Apple is ready to show off their VR headset, peak, eyes. But Apple's Greg Joswiak even tweeted an augmented reality teaser of the Apple logo on the Steve Jobs Theater stage. Granted, Apple has been teasing us with these AR demos for a really long time now, with pretty much every modern day event invite featuring one. But hey, the grandiose scale of this teaser with the panning to reveal the Apple logo with that visual effect seem to imply maybe there's something more going on here. And that's just it. We are reading into an event invite, and while it may be fun to speculate, I hope you had fun with me, and wonder what Apple will release next, we also have to realize that these are just fun theories, and we really won't have to wait too much longer to actually peek into the future and see what Apple has in store for us on March 8th. But let me know in the comments below, do you think we can find out anything about what Apple might announce at this event from the event invite? And do you agree with me that it's probably a sneak peek at pro-level desktop Macs, or do you think it might be something else, like a M2 MacBook Air, or an entirely new product with a Apple VR headset, or do you think it's nothing at all? Really looking forward to reading your comments on this, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to get subscribed for even more event coverage, and hey, if you liked this video, I hope you liked it, make sure you leave me a like, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I think I said that already. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.
Yeah, they bought it. Yes. No, there's no chance that my plans will be foiled. We know everything that's going on. The only thing that could change this is some sort of strange occurrence within the space-time continuum. Yes, I'm signing off. El Sai Kongru.